Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the next session is what we informally call the youth or the young adult plenary. And you'll hear 15 amazing youth from all over the world. But the ringleader for all of that is the amazing Benafsha Shroff. So give it up for Benafsha Shroff.
Good morning. I don't know about that, but morning. Welcome to Leaders Asking Leaders. This is a very special session because we have leaders from all over the world joining in a conversation so that we can help each other, support each other, empower each other, help each other with our hair, you know, whatever needs to be done. But it's also special because it's a conversation we need to have amongst us as young adults. So part of successful communication is active listening, and I think that gets overlooked and not practiced very often at these things. So I encourage you to actively listen during this session because it is a conversation for young adults to have amongst themselves and to learn different things. You will see that there are 2 leaders in your area where you're seated. Those leaders are happy to get questions up on the stage, answer questions themselves. That will happen after we kind of have a conversation about what's happening in our worlds as leaders in the community. So without dragging it out too long, I'd like to introduce Pearl. Pearl has helped tremendously for the last year and a half planning all sorts of youth activities and programming, and she's just a rock star, and she's going to start.
Thank you, Benafsha. A very good morning to all my Zorro friends here, and a very, very good morning to all the hungover youth that have dedicatedly made sure that they're present in the audience. Without taking on more time, I want to go ahead and introduce a fantastic lineup of people, my panelists, who are amazing individuals doing incredible work in their own spaces, inspiring a lot of us, especially me, who sometimes feels lonely back home in India, trying to do things on my own. We've got Tanya Hoshi, who's the Chief Social Media Officer for Farzin and the lead coordinator for Return to Roots. We've got Delzin, who's on the core committee of Zing 2.0 and has also led previous leadership roles in Farzia and Geo Parsi. Parshan Khosravi, who was the previous lead in the LA Youth Congress and is now a very active member with Zaina. And finally, Shazneen, who's a very particular favorite of a lot of us here and has taken on active roles in the UKYZ community and does so much more globally for everyone, including children that she takes time and effort to teach. So just to start off, the Congress is a lovely time, particularly a few sessions, especially with the women on the first day, left me very inspired to learn, especially about the Gathas. I was very impressed to see how everyone began with that. Makes me reflect and want to go back and look into it a little more. Very inspired to grow as a woman, as a leader, but not alone. That was a question that I had, and I'm so happy I have the platform here to go ahead and ask everyone, what does it take to be an effective youth leader? It requires so much more. How did you all successfully demonstrate this, and how did you kick off?
Okay, hi guys, hello. So in terms of... It's on? Okay, brilliant. So in terms of sort of youth leadership, it's a very challenging role, and you're dealing with lots of different people, differing opinions, and things can become heated. It's like being a member of the UN sometimes. But what's important, to remember is respecting each other's views and then trying to come to a common consensus, a common ground. And that takes a lot of sort of listening and then emotional intelligence as well. That's a key thing, and being sort of mindful how you communicate. And then, from my experience, I think a key thing is not being afraid to speak up, because sometimes, in our community, we do get sort of people who are yes people, so they might just say yes, 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 to different things and not challenge things. So I think it's important to have the confidence to challenge things and speak up when you feel something's not right, and do this for the benefit of the youth, the community, and take that step.
I think my response to that is one way to be an effective youth leader is just listening to everybody around you, all generations. That's something I've been tried to be conscious of. Everyone has different needs, and I think it's nice to know what are some of the gaps that we have, and that's kind of where you can find your own niche as a leader and be effective there. So like in my experience, I was listening to a lot of youth from across the world when I'm attending all these events, whether it's Return to Roots or the Youth Forum or a youth congress, and finding out that they want more visibility. They want to see their community online. They want to see more active representation of their culture, of their religion. And I took that to heart, and I took that feedback, and that's when I brought it up to Arzan. So I think another way to be an effective leader is to have a mentor, have somebody who can open doors for you, and listen to them as well and take their advice as well. And yeah, I think that's one example of how you can be effective.
Thanks, Tanya. So as a part of the Zoroastrian Youth for Next Generation, the way we are organized and the way we nurture and grow leaders, and not just leaders, even workers, because we need leaders, we need workers, is through autonomy. So we are an independent youth body based in Bombay, India. We are not affiliated anymore with any trust or any other organization. We are self-made for the youth, by the youth, of the youth. And the way we really grow our leaders is to assign autonomy for them to make decisions, for them to make mistakes. We also have a panel of mentors from the ex-Zing members who can guide us. But that's their limited role for guiding us, so making sure we don't have mistakes or if you have any questions. But the teams are allowed to regroup and make their own cluster teams to ideate for an event or any other exercise they want to do, lead it, execute it, all by themselves. So we are trying to create multiple leaders by giving them the sense of autonomy. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to try to speak loudly. I'm also lost my voice a little bit, so...
Because you've been working hard, Parshan. Give it up for Parshan. This man's been hustling. He's been helping all week for a year and a half get programming together. You're a rock star.
You are too kind, fam. We all have been putting work in, and actually that's what I was going to share is it's all about the personal touch. Every one of us who've been out there, who've been doing stuff, we were pulled in by somebody. Somebody came to us and said, hey, I know this thing that I think you would be excellent for, and I think you should try it out. And I want you to go and try it out. And they pulled us into the community. That's what has to happen. You know, before going to this Congress, we had planned the whole event, and we weren't really getting to the level of participation that we wanted. So we started, a couple of folks around here helped out to start to reach out to people one by one, to every single youth attendee, and let the word out. And before you knew it, we had double the number of participation by the end of the event. So it doesn't happen on its own. If we think, oh, we're putting an event together for the youth, so that means that the youth should be coming out and seek it out, that is a wrong mentality. If we want the youth to be involved, we have to take the time to make it worth their time. We have to do that, and we have to pull them in.
Thanks, Parshan. That's wonderful that you shared that. We have some wonderful and beautiful leaders in the audience. Could y'all please stand up who are out here? They will be facilitating questions today if you look around. They're in pairs. I'm going to start over here with Mantreh and Jim. so that they can introduce each other, and then we're going to go through so the rest of them can introduce each other.
Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to introduce my colleague and friend, Mantreh Atashband. You'll hear a little bit later about how we came together and affected change. So can't wait to dive into it more with you. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Jim Engineer here. I think everybody knows Jim. He's an OG in the community and very active participant. We'll talk about more of that later.
I'm going to toss it over here to Layla and Sherry. Could we turn mic 8 on, please? No, but this one is. Sorry, don't be. Pass it off. Introduce Sherry. Mic 8.
We go against the grain. We're going to introduce ourselves in our pair. I'm Layla Mazdyasni. I'm kind of bi-coastal between Washington, D.C. and San Diego. And my big plug for San Diego is we just got a Darayus there. So if you have any questions about the San Diego Darayus, or you would love to donate money, we would love to have your support. Please come find me. Or anyone else who is from Southern California. We're so excited. Yeah!
Mic 1, please.
Hello.
Hello. Could we have mic 1 on for Sherry?
It's on. Hi, Sheherazad, Sherry from Mumbai, India. I am a practicing morbid. I used to run my own business. I've been very involved with the local community out there as well as at a global stage at congresses. I'm an initiative which is very close to my heart called Empowering Morbids. I'll be talking more about that at the Morbids panel later today evening. And I realize that a lot of youth in particular look up to me and reach out to me for building that kind of connect, that there's a yearning to learn more about our religion. And I do sense that kind of responsibility to give back to the community, which keeps me involved through fun initiatives like this. Thank you.
Farzin and Sherry.
Hi, everyone. So I'm going to introduce Farzin Avari here. I think she does one of the most important jobs we have. She's a primary school teacher. And woo! She is also the co-chair of Zaina, and she's been doing some amazing work to mobilize the youth across North America, and I think there's so much more to come, so really watch out for her.
And Sherry here is an occupational therapist. She's helping with the next Youth Congress in London and is the chair of the youth in the UK.
Mic 7, please.
Hello. So I've got Darayus over here. So Darayus is an active member of our youth community and the Northwest Zoroastrian Society of London. He's also spearheading our speakers committee for the 8th World Zoroastrian Youth Congress and really fleshing out a lot of the itinerary and structure that you guys will be participating in for next year.
Thank you. This is Sanaya. She is the vice chair of the Young Zoroastrian Committee of ZTFE, and she's also our co-chair for the next 8th World Zoroastrian Community, so she's been putting a lot of effort in to creating the next Congress for you all.
Mic 5, please.
Hello. I'd like to introduce you to Rozmin Irani, a fellow Canadian from Vancouver, British Columbia. She's quite active with the local community and also helps out with the Zaina a lot. She's absolutely amazing.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to introduce you to Zamyad. He is involved in many communities where he's lived, but currently set up in the UK, and he will be the head of marketing for the next Youth Congress that we are all promoting. So come out to London.
You guys are awesome. Thank you. Pearl, I'm going to pass it back up to you so we can continue the dialogue.
Benafsha, we've put together a really good panel, haven't we? We've got the best of the best from everywhere coming along.
Honestly, though, and we have so many more in the audience who are going to join us next time, yes?
Maybe. I think we've left one person to... Farzin?
Yeah, we did it.
We got them.
Yeah,
Inclusion up in here. We got everyone.
Benafsha.
So what we want to move on with and address a very pressing issue is about getting the global community together and going across in dissolving all the divides separating us. So whether it's a regional divide, whether it's where you're coming from, affordability, these are issues that each of the leaders here have successfully managed to address and overcome. And I just wanted to touch a little bit upon each of them so a lot of us could take in and learn. Tanya, as the Chief Social Media Officer, the power of tech in uniting the community globally, creating a platform for the youth, and the responsibility that comes with it. Could you talk a little bit about that?
I'm going to do my best. I think it's so amazing when we're all here together in person, but it only happens every 4 years for each specific event. So we're only together for about 4 days a year if we're very lucky every year. So with tech, we're so lucky that we have things like social media, just online things like emails and newsletters. It's the only way for us to be in touch otherwise, and we're lucky we have it, so we should take advantage of it, right? So I think it's amazing that we have so many youth across the globe who are taking advantage of that, are being leaders and making their community more visible online. So for me, I think taking advantage of that means creating content so youth can see themselves reflected in, they want to be involved. Like I always tell people, but I can't tell every Zoroastrian on the planet, it's so much fun being involved in our community. It is one of the best things in my life, is being a Zoroastrian and being an active Zoroastrian. And that's different for everyone. You know, for some people that means going to the Gyari or Atashband every day and praying, but for some people it means attending events and socializing and meeting other youth or meeting other Zoroastrians. Everyone experiences Zoroastrianism very differently, so I want to be able to show those aspects online so that they're actually getting involved in the way that they want to get involved and they can. And yeah, I feel very lucky. I have this incredible team, at least on the Fazana side. I have to give them a shout out. I have Kimia Shahzadi, Annette Hopkins, Arash Adun, and Zinia Baramji. They help me run social media. It's not just me. I cannot take credit for all of it. These are also incredible youth that bring in their own diversity to all the content that we create. We have a split Irani Zoroastrian and Parsi Zoroastrian youth on the social media committee, and they bring all this content that educates people about the religion for those who want to learn more. It also creates content that just shows them how fun it is to get involved in general. All these events that we do, we want to be able to show that so that they actually show up to these things. And then it also shows like sponsors and potential donors the impact of the money that they give to us, like the events that actually bring the community together and strengthen it. And I love that we have youth across the globe as well, from the UK, from India, from Australia, New Zealand, Dubai, Canada, US of course, and I hope I didn't forget everybody. But across the globe, they have their social media accounts and they're connecting with us, they're sharing our posts and we share their posts. And I think it's the closest I've ever felt to closing this gap between all of us being across the globe. So even though we are Zoroastrians in the diaspora, it's lovely that we can still be connected, even though home for us is different and everyone has their own sense of home and belonging. It's the closest we can feel connected. I hope that is it.
I was handling the WZC's Mumbai social media account, and it does not let that 4-year gap feel a lot. You're meeting everyone here, you're already up to date, and it's been amazing because, like you said, you're inspiring other communities and other smaller communities across to also be actively participating and take ideas from each other. Touching upon another part that you mentioned about home, it's a good time. So I moved from a very comfortable Dadar Parsi colony to now New York this week. It's been a big jump for me. The Congress could not have come at a better time. This feels like home, this feels like a kickoff, and it sounds like these that you realize the divide and just the whole sense of identity. I want to move on to my next panelist with Delzin. Delzin, how did you go ahead and address the regional divide? It's a very big space,
getting all the youth together across different parts. In Mumbai alone, we find it so difficult to get Khosravi people to come to Darayus Parsi colony and vice versa. So could you highlight a little bit about how you address that? What are the areas that you still want us to help with, and where do you see this go?
Yeah, thanks, Pearl. And I think this word divide is, it's very layered. So you have the divide in Bombay amongst the bags. So you have the people living in the bags, you have people living outside the bags, you have people living in the suburbs, you have people living in other parts of the country which are close to Bombay, like Pune or Surat or Navsari. Then you go to Ahmedabad, you go to the different cities, and then you go outside of India. So there is a huge divide, and I think the first step that we did was recognize this divide. And through the years, through the events, we have been collecting the voices of the youth that, okay, this is a problem. Like I had gone for one of the youth congresses in Ahmedabad, organized by Paila, and they were like, the Bombay youth are loud and obnoxious. Okay, so the point is to recognize this divide and to do a conscious, collective effort and do an outreach to them. That's number one. Number two, what we have also done is that we have gone beyond the traditional Mumbai, right? By obviously thanks or tragically thanks to COVID, we have shifted to a virtual platform. And even when there's no COVID, we have moved outside the realms of South Bombay. We do events outside, like we did the Bharat Trek, which is in Gujarat and Bordi, or we do events in Matharan, or we are going still north towards other towns. So moving physical events out of the physical boundaries as well as onto virtual platforms. So through another event, socializing, we were able to break the India boundary. We had people participating on this platform where it's a quite meet cute platform where you singles can meet cute talk. So we had participants from Pakistan, we had participants from Sri Lanka, from Australia, New Zealand, Hong Kong, Europe, US, all on one platform together. And we just clicked, we just mixed, we just made friends, and I met so many of them today. So this is the second way we've been trying to reach out through virtual platforms. And number three, the most important, is through networking. Like I talked to Tanya, I talked to Arzan, I talked to Benas from Bombay. There are so many youth leaders, and technology helps us talk to them. Like I WhatsApp them, or we work via the Instagram, LinkedIn, get your youth to come onto these platforms. So there's a whole new network that has been enabled by technology, and the best part is all the youth leaders or representatives or even the non-youth leaders work together. They help us whenever we need the help. The point is to reach out to them and ask them to collaborate, and I think that's worked fantastically for us.
And Delzin, you also helped with so much for this Congress, did icebreakers and games, so thank you. The participation from India was wonderful. It was great to have that.
Thank you, Delzin. I hope we can adopt this model and it works across and we hear more success stories at the next Congress. Parshan, on to you. You have gone ahead and dealt with this geographical divide on a much larger scale when you were putting together the LA Congress. More than that, the second follow-up for me is I personally, for the first time, was exposed to how vast the Zoroastrian community is. So it's not just the Parsis that we've been accustomed to grow up and think about, or the Irani neighbors that you have, but also the Persians, and getting a little bit of an insight, whether it's through the Persian dance night and music, or just the food that was put out. How have you addressed this? Because as someone who's not been around in the Western side of the world, I've understood that it also becomes a conflict at times. You have to balance the preferences. How did you go ahead and unite them at a much larger level at the LA Congress?
Thank you for the question. First of all, I'll start with the food, because I had the chance to go as a part of RTR and participate, and I will say the food can get spicy at times, but it's only good spice. So it's not too spicy, and I hope that the Persian food is not too bland for folks. We can have some really tasty food. But that said, I think this question of, we talk about it a lot amongst the youth. When we look at our ancestors, our parents, our grandparents, we quite often, even today, identify a lot of the folks as, Parsi origin or Iranian American origin. The truth of it is, for most of us in North America, we're no longer, and especially our children, will no longer be really Parsi or Iranian American. They will be Canadian. They will be American. They will be, British. They will be Australian. They're from all around the world. Our diaspora has expanded to be a global community, and we really need to think about that and address that. So for us at Congress, it was looking past all of that, looking at how we can connect and bring the youth together. And, so that's one thing I would say we really, really try to hone in on. And to earlier to the point of what folks were bringing up about, what happened during the age of COVID, we actually saw, oddly enough, COVID brought a lot more youth together than before that, because we now have been able to bring folks from all around the North American continent who didn't have local communities to be able to actually participate, and within one Zoom link, jump on there and have a sense of community. So that's kind of, what we hope to start at the LA Congress, and has really just kind of continued to happen since.
Talking about congresses, I'm very, very excited for the London Youth Congress that's coming up. Shout out to the guys who've put in the film. We're all very excited. I was on a flight to New York wondering, why can't this be any sooner? So this is great. Shaz, a thing that you guys have managed to address, and this is a much larger issue at play, it comes down to affordability. So it's not about Zoroastrians, it's not about youth, it's about affordability. When we had the panels, we had a lot of the siblings on talking about how their parents actually want to send them, but it comes down to who's the more deserving child to go, which is a very unfair conversation to have back at home. So living in London, I know, and I completely agree with Dora, £550 for 5 days with food and accommodation is an absolute steal. You guys,
huge accomplishment.
It's huge. How did you guys go about with it? What can we expect? And what are you looking forward to doing in the next couple of months ahead?
Thank you very much, Pearl. So in terms of affordability, it's been quite a long and challenging journey, because we do want to make sure that the Congress is accessible for all the youth, and we don't want price to be a reason to sort of bar anyone. So what we did was, after the LA Congress in 2019, we put together a focus group of young Zoroastrians, and we've also done a recent focus group as well, and that was to sort of explore what kind of price point they were looking at, what they could afford. We've also talked to the GWG, the Global Working Group members, to understand sort of their expectations around price. And once we had all that in place, then we've negotiated sort of substantial discounts with hotels, and just to bring the price down. We've also achieved that price point by using sort of free resources that we have in our community. So we've got our ZTFE Zoroastrian Centre. It's an Art Deco building in Harrow, and we're going to be having some of our talks and sort of ceremonies there as well. So that's something to look forward to. In terms of sort of the teens as well, we've got a lovely group of older volunteers, but we also have teenagers who are really excited now to get involved, because by the time the Congress comes around, they'll be sort of 17, 18 years old, and they've already sort of been involved with different teams, so with marketing, taking the reins with things like social media. And that's kind of, given them a sense of responsibility. So it's really nice to see that, engaging the youth that way. And we're going to be sort of posting sort of gradual updates to let you know, when registration will open. But it's going to be a very, very good Congress. And I really hope that you can all.
I just want to follow up with that. Yeah, Shaz, besides just the social divide, something that you touched upon again, right, is the younger generation. So you're also addressing the age divide. Because I often feel, and I see myself do this, maybe it's the age you're at we're always looking to interact with the elders of the community. You're trying to, get to them, learn from them, find your mentors, grow, participate. You've gone ahead and actually started interacting with the much younger audience in the community that you've been teaching. How do you see that going? Are you finding them wanting to volunteer, wanting to participate, and what are you doing to keep that lot of age group engaged with you and creating leaders for tomorrow?
Thank you. So in terms of the younger generation, I think especially the teenagers, they need a lot of encouragement. And, once you've got their agreement, which sometimes can be hard with teenagers, you've got to sort of give them a lot of mentoring and coaching support. So that's something that we've actively been doing, and having a point of contact for each of the younger volunteers that they can ask questions to and obtain guidance, because for many of them this is their first time that they'll be volunteering in any capacity. So it's to have that support structure in place. Okay, so we're moving now on to the next...
Can I just jump in super quick, Shaz? As a prime example of how we make mistakes as young leaders, I forgot to introduce Kayras and Vista. So could we get mic 3 on before we come to the audience and get them introduced as well? We mess things up. This is what happens, and we go with it. Please stand up, you two. I did forget you both.
Hi everyone, sorry I speak loud. Vista Khosravi from the UK is one of our organizers for the next Youth Congress. She's going to be looking after entertainment, so there's a lot of weight on her shoulders to get that going for her. Please give her a round of applause. My name is Kayras Irani. I'm from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, a paramedic with the British Columbia Ambulance Service and currently the Vice President of the Zoroastrian Society of British Columbia. At the end of this month, I will be taking on the presidency of ZSBC, and I look forward to serving at a bigger capacity. You'll hear more about me later on. Thank you.
And this is probably the first Congress I've seen Kayras have his voice for this long of the Congress, because usually he's rounding us all up and the voice is gone by now.
So true.
Sherry from the UK will pass it to you from Shaz.
Okay, brilliant. So, Sherry and Sanaya are our co-chairs for the Congress taking place next year in July in London, baby. So yeah, remember that. And so the key themes, for our Congress, so one of the key themes is inclusivity and sort of that sense of belonging. So I just wanted to ask Sherry and Sanaya, what have you guys learned so far, in your journey as, Congress leaders and, achieving sort of some of these aims? And what advice would you give, to other youth in those kind of situations and achieving those aims?
Cool, I'll take that, Shaz.
Sure.
So for us, it's so important to be inclusive no matter what you're doing and to be at the forefront of the mission for congresses, for all youth activities and engagement. So we've really tried to pioneer this and move forward with this. And at the end of the day, all youth activities, congresses, they're done for the youth, by the youth, and this is something that we should be championing and make sure that we're inclusive. Like you said, we've put together focus groups to actually tailor and be inclusive for our themes, our panel discussions, and everything that we're doing for the Congress. We want to support the topics and the conversations of the youth, what they want, and we made sure that there was a global stage and a global presence for this and input. We want to have inclusive participation as well, so Zoros by choice, mixed families, individuals from socio-economic backgrounds as well, which is where the affordability of our Congress and the inclusivity from that front comes into play as well. We don't want to have the option that people cannot come to because it's not affordable, unlike other congresses. And we want to act as an inspiration for congresses in the future and youth activities to be mindful that we have to be inclusive, we have to be diverse in what we're doing, we have to represent the youth community and the conversations that we're having right now and move ahead with some of the times and address the conversations that people want to hear and are talking about in the background. So I guess I asked Sheherazad, what does belonging mean to you, and how do we portray this and have it in our community?
Thank you, Sanaya. So I think that answer, there's probably two parts to that answer. I think when you build a Congress team, it's also about the people that you fill it with. And yesterday we spoke about the fact that we have lots of women on our Congress. That lack of representation, and that's really, really opened up some brilliant dialogue for us. But I think the second thing we've also filled it with is loads of expats. So our Congress team is filled of people that have moved to the UK. We have people from the US, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and India. And all of their inputs, all of their experiences are really filtering down into the events and the entertainment that you're going to see in this Congress. And I think a really good example is our logo, which is on our little business cards. That was actually developed by Anahis Kabari here from Canada. So she was all the way in Canada, and she developed our logo for us. So it's about bringing people together and really making sure that we're giving a global voice to these global congresses. I think the second part of this answer in terms of fostering belonging is that this is about building a community. A congress is 4, 5, 6 days, but after that, you want to build a long-lasting community in your local area, and that's what London is really trying to do. Our expats in London are pushing this forward. We do weekly volleyball events, we have parties, we're trying to do more religious education, and I think that's really where you foster that sense of belonging. I think it's about the Congress, but also about what you do before and after to keep the legacy going. So, yeah. So, back at the 7th World Zoroastrian Youth Congress, Parshan, you really opened some doors on some amazing, amazing conversations. You touched on things like interfaith, you touched on things such as the LGBTQAI, and these were amazing conversations that opened up such good dialogue for so many people. Can you sort of tell us a bit more about that journey, some of the key takeaways?
Absolutely. I'd be happy to. And I think, the main thing I'll say is every Congress is a platform for us to talk about the issues facing our communities. And if we're not using that platform to talk about these issues, we are wasting our times. And more importantly, right, we're wasting our youth's time if we're not spending this moment. How often are we going to be able to say that we have the most sizable portion of our entire world community in one room, in one sitting? We don't have that often. So we have to take advantage of that. And so we did. It does come down to picking your battles and figuring out what you want to really hone in, what you want to really bring in as a conversational item. So we can't address everything all the time at every single venue, but when we do pick what it is, we have to be brave and we have to talk about it. So I was proud to be part of the Congress team that put that venue together and put those programs together. But speaking of sort of bringing teams together and doing things, it also to the theme that was shared earlier, it's all about continuation. We can't just sit there in the panel today right here and talk about something and then, bygones and forget about it and come back 4 years from now and say, hey, so let's talk about it again. It has to continue being talked about. It has to continue being worked about. So once our Congress in LA ended, Arzan reached out and said, hey, we need to continue this conversation. And that's the kind of leadership also that we need, to have mentors who are willing to help continue the movement. So from that point forward, it became about let's recreate and revitalize the Zoroastrian youth of North America and continue that conversation, which is why I'm also proud to have my co-chair, my incredible co-chair, Farzin, there.
Mic 1, please.
Yes, please. Mic 1. And Farzin has been the rock of Zoroastrian youth in North America. I would love to pass it out to her to talk a little bit about that.
So one thing that Parshan and I made a very intentional, conscious choice at the very beginning was to have an hour-long conversation with each one of our Zaina members to get to know them, to get to know what they were struggling with, to get to know what they were doing professionally, so we could pull them into our organization and make sure that they're being they're doing the things that they want to do, the things that they're interested in, the things that they're good at, and to make sure that we're mentoring each one of them to become really good leaders. So 30 years from now, when Arzan finally says he's tired and wants to do something else.
Might
We've
be
got
after this
enough
Congress.
We've got enough youth leaders that are ready and willing and able to step up.
Thank you, Farzin. Zamyad, where's Zamyad?
Mic 3, please. 5, joking, 5.
Lovely. Zamyad, you're one person that I know that's been an active participant in 2 Zoro communities across continents. I'm not going to sugarcoat this, so straight away, what went wrong, what was good, how can we learn from each other, and now as a leader, what are the things that you are going to make sure, whether it's about students studying abroad or just feeling welcome, or if you had to start engaging in both of them, what would you do this time around and what's been happening?
Thank you, Pearl. That's a really loaded paragraph there. I'll try to keep it brief, as Benafsha mentioned, but
We were getting very diplomatic. We need to spice things up a little bit more.
Yeah, let's hear the...
So I think one most important point I follow is being consistently active. It's like getting out there, putting yourself out there. It's not easy moving from India to Canada to study my master's in sports marketing and then actually getting involved, becoming the director at ZSO, one of the board of directors, is to put yourself out there, not being afraid to take on bigger roles, bigger challenges. And then once you take the first leap, you'll see how beautifully you get involved with Fezana. You're in the scholarship committee. Next thing you know, you're working with the Zaina as a co-chair. So I think moving there, and then my hunger for like working with the community is unparalleled, because then once I finished that, I wanted a new challenge. And during the COVID pandemic, I started the ZSO Coffee Chat series. It's just reaching out to Sherry or Sanaya, talking about their experiences, because I'm just so curious. Curiosity also like leads into new opportunities and new roles. And then when I moved to London last year in November, I wanted to get involved right away. So I reached out to Sherry on Instagram. I'm like, how can I get involved? She's like, who is this guy? So it's just throwing yourself out there, not being afraid to be judged. But then she was really amazing. Like she said, yes, we play volleyball on Thursday nights. So once that got to, then we started playing tennis. So getting sports also helps you network, socialize. Talking about the second half, you talked about studying abroad. Obviously, it's not easy. Moving countries, it's a different challenge. And then you're obviously paying in INR, which is Indian rupees. But then you start getting part-time jobs. And also a lot of youngsters who still reach out to me because they see you growing on social media. Literally, they follow your story. And they reach out to you saying, how did you come to London? Like, what are the work permit requirements? How did you go about the immigration or even like getting jobs? And now I'm actually proud to say people reach out and I have a PowerPoint presentation ready for them to go. Instead of asking the same questions, I'd like, go through this PowerPoint, ask me any questions you have, and then we can take it from there.
That took a lot of effort, but that's wonderful, and I'm quite happy to hear that. When you don't grow up in a local community, like the ZTFE in your case, just to be accepted and also having a sense of home, coming back and circling to this, right? It's all about feeling at home, which we all do, thanks to every local body that's been created. Next, moving on to somebody who manages to connect so perfectly with the younger lot as well as the older lot, and that's Kayras. Kayras, as the youngest VP of the association, what is it that you've learned over time? What is it that you would want to go ahead and advise people? I also realize in smaller focus groups and private conversations, it can get frustrating sometimes. How do you continue to stay motivated, even though our responsibilities sometimes also feel like a second full-time job?
Can you guys hear me? I'm just gonna face my back to you so I can talk to these guys. I'm usually very humble, but I'm not gonna be humble today.
Yeah.
And I know they want to hear me say that, so I will do it.
Preach.
My advice is to the young leaders and also the not so young leaders. For the not so young leaders, my biggest advice to you, please listen to us. We have listened to you for a very long time, and we are actually very grateful. You guys have offered us so much, and we have taken that, it's in our heads, and now we're ready to regurgitate it. So when we have that platform, please give it to us. And I'm saying that kindly, respectfully, because then eventually I won't be that person to be so kind anymore because I have been stern with my elderly, mentors. Arzan knows. And he and I, one point bumped heads. And he was the first person, and I'm a Canadian, so we say sorry about everything. I'm the first person to say sorry about everything. He was the first person that actually apologized to me, and not only personally when we had some sort of conflict, but then he took it to another level and apologized on a public platform. I didn't really think that was necessary, but he did it. And man, my level of respect for him just went above his head, man. Like, I really did appreciate him for that. So thank you, and I wanted to bring that up today. With the youth, so I've said what I need to say to the adults, but you guys need to have that confidence to, when you say you want to do something, commit to it. Don't be shy. Don't be like, I'm going to do this and then I'm going to bounce. Right? Actually commit to what you want to do and then pursue it. It's so easy for you guys to give up. I've been there multiple times, but giving up, there's reasons. Some people may have to do it for legitimate reasons, but don't do it just because things are not going your way. Because if they're not going to go your way, then that's not the way to pursue life, right? You're going to have challenges and conflicts all throughout your time on this earth. Please move forward. You may not move in a line that you want to go in. You might have to zigzag like a rabbit. But please move forward with it. Don't give up. All right? And then there are people that will support you. You may not have a lot of people on your side, but there are people that will be there to help you get through it.
All of us. All of us.
There's a team behind me right now, and teams all across this ballroom. Please remember that. I'm going to sign off with something, and I just want to say, when it comes to motivation for this community, so I'm a paramedic by profession. But I've been a volunteer for the community just as long as I've been a paramedic. For my motivation, mental health. I don't like to take my work home with me. So this is my outlet. This is what I like to do. I enjoy doing it. Now some people think, man, isn't this more taxing on your mental health? And yeah, sometimes it is, but actually I can handle this compared to someone throwing a knife at me or something like that, or spitting at me in my line of work, and unfortunately that happens. So that's why I keep doing this, and I have been doing this as long as I've been doing it for, because I actually really do enjoy it. Like Zamyad said, man, there's passion with this. I don't do it for money. There's no money that comes out from this. One thing I'm going to say, and I know Benafsha is giving me the cue, is in the words of Drake, or A$AP Rocky, I can't remember who did it or who said it. Work like a soldier so no one knows that you're a sergeant. I'm going to change that by saying work like a soldier so that people know you're capable of being a general. So remember that moving forward, and that's all I got to say. Thank you for your time. But I want to sign off by getting another question over to Mantreh and Jim.
Mic 9, please.
The two right here in the center. The two of you have been instrumental in starting a next-gen community. Could you shed some light on the same? What are the learnings the youth of today can deploy to ensure longevity of the efforts they carry out? Please go ahead.
Kayras, thank you. And it's a pleasure for us to be with you today. We have spent many years now, it feels, talking about the same talk, and that's the youth, next generation. We talked a lot about how an event will happen and then it'll die. One of the things that was instilled very early on in my life was the importance of mentorship. And right there in the back, to me, is the ultimate mentor, and Rohinton Ravetna. I'd like to give him a hand. Because Rohinton Ravetna has not only been the catalyst for change, but he has been the architect for our community, for our framework, for our structures, for our infrastructure, and to me personally, he has gotten me involved in everything I've ever done when it comes to Zoroastrianism. So that said, one of the outgrowths of the global working group in the year 2000, I believe the Houston World Zoroastrian Congress, was to form a next generation movement. And that was the mandate. In Chicago, like in so many instances, things take shape and are given birth. And that's what happened in around 2007 when we formed Next Gen Now. There was no one single person who led it, created it, founded it, but it was up to 5 of us in the end to sort of champion it and run with it. We refused to let it die and just be one of those talking points from the past. That's not our style. We're the beginning of a new generation of Zoroastrians who have taken ownership and have empowered other generations that have come after us. I'm 51. Mantreh, I won't say how old you are at all. It's not appropriate for me to do that, but you're younger than that. But at the end of the day, we're on the tail end of this. And so one of the things that we found when we launched Next Gen Now is that the backing we thought we'd have from Fazana at that time didn't exist. That fell by the wayside. And at the end of the day, we learned that you have to have the will from the elder generation to let us move forward. So we didn't have a place where we could, an association where we could have an event. We ended up doing it at George Washington University. And one of the differences with our organization was we were there to create a new culture, a new leadership incubator, if you will, to get next generation youth involved. So Farzin Avari was one of those people who was there. I'm so proud of you and the way you've flourished.
Yes.
And you know, the Zoroastrian Youth of North America, I'll be honest with you, was another seed planting. It was devised by Royington, and then, you know, Mazda, Auntie, and I were named founders, and Nikan Khatibi took over after that. And honestly, it's something that fell by the wayside until Next Gen Now started. So in addition to Mantreh and myself, we had Nikan Khatibi. If you're here, Nikan, could you stand? But Nikan Khatibi, Zubin Mistry, I don't know if you're here, and our mighty Homa Vizier. So the 5 of us literally came up with a new logo, a new website. For the first time, we set up a bank account. We didn't have the backing of anyone at that time, with the exception of a few champions. So with that said, we planted the seeds, and now you see Zaina taking off the way it should. One of the things that was important to us was to have equal representation, whether that's on the gender side, whether that's on the racial side. Mantreh and I are Irani and Parsi, right? And so Nikan joined that. And then we also, in North America, wanted to make sure we had a balance of United States and Canada. So that was another important mandate. The organization didn't really take off after that. It sort of floundered, and you know, we were wondering what is going to happen. You know, at the end of the day, we are a catalyst, we are an agent of change, and we've helped advance the next generation message. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mantreh.
Thank you. I'll be real quick. As Jim said, we are sort of on the tail end of the younger generation spectrum.
But I want to interrupt both of you really quick. You've done a brilliant job being young adults who've passed it on early.
Yes, and that's what I
held on to it for 20 more years. You're like, we did something, we're passing it on.
That's exactly what I wanted to mention, is that the important part of being a youth leader is also to know when to step back and not always be in the driver's seat. It's very important to sit in the audience and let other people lead. And I think that's what we have done. We planted the seed, got the people, and stepped back. And that's very important to do. Thank you. And I've had the privilege of being on the Congress Program Committee for this Congress with Benafsha. And I just want to ask Benafsha. Benafsha is the youngest member on the Program Committee. And I want to pass it on to you to talk about your experience.
Oh, Lord. We got a couple people in this room who've done a lot of work. No, I had great mentors in Keki and Aban. They were very patient with me, saying, I'll deliver something, and it comes in an hour before they ask me to deliver it. I think one of the hardest things taking up community work is that it is work, and it's sometimes there's an expectation that you take it on as a second job. So that's hard for young adults. We're in a different place in our lives, and that's not always understood. Like, we already work a job. We already are focusing on trying to build a family. Community work does take a lot of time and effort and energy and coordinating. And it's not to say we're not involved or we're not engaged, but just that taking it up like a second job isn't always easy. So if you understand that and you understand we're trying to be involved in the best capacity we can, and you have people like Kiki and Aban who understand that, then that's great. And also, I think it's just been a bit challenging sometimes to be asked to be a part of the process, or asked if you want to be, how you can help make a decision, and then the decision just gets made anyway. So that's extraordinarily frustrating, because we want to be a part of the process. We want to know how you guys got there, how you made a certain decision. But if you say, yes, 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 we want young adults, we want you guys to be a part of it, and then you get our opinion, but then we're never a part of the decision-making process, it's very, very difficult to keep engaging. So I think that's, you know, one difficulty in just like representing young adults, because there's a lot of things we want to do as well, but we're not always included in that process. But overall, I think it's been wonderful. We've had great programming for young adults this whole Congress, and it's been a pleasure to like meet everyone and be able to spend time together. Someone mentioned earlier, we get, I think Tanya said, we get 4 days in 4 years, and we go to town. Half of us are losing our voice because we were out so late last night. We're like, we only have 2 nights to party. But yeah, it's been great. And we're also finding new ways to revamp and redo things. One example of that is Zing 2.0. Del, why don't you talk about that and how it's, you know, we've moved on and made different changes. What's that been like?
Yeah, Zing 2.0 is bigger, better, and younger. Absolutely new. Having said that, Zing 1.0 was a phenomenal success. It was something new that we were doing back in India. It was launched in 2009, and of course it went on for over 10 years, more than 140 events, so at an average 12 events a year. And of course it came with the issues that typically crop up, and everyone's touched upon those issues here, and it was paused in 2018. Zing 2.0 was launched on 2020 with a brand new committee, new youth, new visionaries, new objectives. But the one thing that really propped us up was the mentorship from the Zing 1.0 committee. They never gave up on us. They helped us learn the lessons, how to solve the issues that they carried. And what we were able to carry from Zing 1.0 was the brand, but not the baggage. So I really want to thank the mentors who are still pillars today. Viraf is in the crowd there. He's been the Zing 1.0 member, leader, and he's now a mentor. But what really made us rise up was that we were empowered. So we raise our own money, we raise our, we ideate on our own events, we form our own committees, and of course that comes with a lot of help from all the community stalwarts. But at the end of the day, we empower the youth on the committee to make decisions, take decisions, make mistakes. Yes, and then we have our mentors to pick us up in case we are in real trouble. But that's really helped us, and hopefully we'll grow bigger, stronger, and we've really been more successful, and we want to continue this, so thank you.
And one of the mentors that I think a few of us in this room have had is Sanaya Master. Please give it up for her. She's not in the room right now, but she needs to hear a huge round of applause. She's incredible. She thought up the entire idea, conceptualized the Young Leaders Forum that happened at the Asha Center. Layla, I want to touch with you and Sherry and see Mike 8 for them, please. What has been the impact of that for both of you? The forum that we had and having that support and mentorship.
Layla, would you like to go first?
Sure. Can you guys hear me? Yeah? No? No? Yes, you can hear me. Okay. So one of the things I think that we've heard a lot of people talk about today is for youth to get involved, you need that one person to reach out to and bring you in, because as a group, it's really overwhelming to come to a lot of these things. And so I do have two special people to shout out who are unable to be here today, but for me, my big reintroduction to this was Return to Roots, and my shout out for that is Parsina Judd. She was my outreach hand, and she said, Layla, you should come to this, you would love it. And through that, I met the amazing Sanaya Master, who she was then my outreach to the next thing that I went to, which was the Youth Leaders Forum. And Sanaya did an absolutely incredible job bringing people from different backgrounds together. And my background is I'm from Southern California. I'm a Persian Zoroastrian. And so growing up, I was very insular with my Persian Zoroastrian community, which I loved. But going to these different events helped me understand the Parsi side of it, because ultimately we have a lot of things that are similar, but there are so many differences, especially culturally. And I think it's really important, especially to language, being accurate about what you're saying, right? And so that was one thing that, for me, allowed me to understand the differences and the similarities between us. And it also helped me get to know more people and be kind of that next hand to bring more people on to Return to Roots and to get them excited so that we can intermingle a little bit more and learn more about the differences that we have, and then also relish in our similarities, because there's so much that's beautiful, but there's also so much to celebrate and learn, and I think we're just kind of scratching the surface for that. So big shout out to Parisa, who took me under her arms and introduced me to Return to Roots, and the team that organized that. Big shout out to Sanaya for putting on an absolutely incredible forum. And then a lot of us that were there continued to do the work and build those relationships individually so we could all be that next hand to reach out to the next person and get them involved, because that's how we grow, right? It's scary to come into big spaces on your own. It's a little bit less scary when you have one person to hold your hand there. Sherry?
Thanks, Layla. I am going to speak from a position of privilege today. Coming from a community in Mumbai, I face a problem which very few communities in the diaspora would face. I have too much of community around me. You sneeze, there is a Parsi. I go to college, there are Parsi classmates. And that is a good problem to have, but unfortunately, that is causing our population to become lethargic. Back in 2016, I'm going to re-advertise Return to Roots because it has changed my life as well. The Return to Roots program was literally the stepping stone for me, which made me get involved in the global community. Through that, it just cascaded. I was lucky to be invited to be part of the Youth Leaders Forum. 5 of the people on the stage today, 3 out of them were part of the Youth Leaders Forum. Unfortunately, Parshan couldn't make it at the last minute due to some flight issues. But that platform spotlighted the youth leaders. And today I'm pleased to say that whenever there's any global event happening, these same faces, you are going to find them in their local communities serving. So I feel giving continued acknowledgement and recognition of the youth leaders is a very, very important thing to keep the show going. Finally, I'd like to say thank you to the older generation. You all have done a lot for us, and we'd like that the support continues based on what Kayras mentioned, along with a few other, like Jim and Mantreh mentioned earlier. That support means a lot to us, but we need more and more of it to keep the show going. We are an aging community. We have unique problems, and it is pertinent that each one of us picks up something of our interest. It doesn't have to be that we all have to end up at the stage at one of the congresses or be a panelist. It is simply making that effort of just following your local Instagram page, just showing up, acknowledging people that, oh, I saw you at the Congress. Would you like to be part of the next event? That keeps the ball rolling. Thank you.
Mic 5, please.
Alrighty. I'm actually going to kick it across the room over to Roz, who I think is across the room.
Yeah, she is.
Yes,
right
she is.
here.
There she is. Roz, we've talked a little bit about kind of how to get people involved and what that involvement looks like, both on a big scale, but when it comes down to it in local communities, can you speak a little bit about your experience in fostering and creating youth involvement and youth engagement and what that has looked like?
Absolutely. Can you guys hear me?
Mic 5, please.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I can. So, if I'm being totally honest, I wasn't the most active person for a lot of my life with my Zartushti community. I am an occupational therapist by profession, and so over the course of the past few years, I was having a difficult time working in hospital and dealing with COVID. And I reached out to my colleague Kayras, who spoke earlier, and I was sharing some of my experiences with him, and I noticed that I needed to find something for myself that intrinsically motivated me and gave me meaning and gave me purpose, and that was my religion. And I went forward with connecting with a lot of the amazing people who have spoken here today in terms of youth leaders, and I got involved not only with my local community, but with Zaina especially. And to be totally honest, we kind of just built a foundation of trust. And we built a foundation of friendship, and that created a natural ripple effect for all of us to get engaged and get committed. And we're still in the learning phases, we're still dynamically growing, we're still actively taking people and wanting to bridge connections and get people involved as much as possible. But we understand each other as people first, and we understand our strengths first, and we want to facilitate our strengths not only as professionals, but also within our team. So, we started events, over Zoom that allowed everybody to participate from their home, which was amazing, and our turnout wasn't so great, and it was a bit disheartening. But we persevered, and when we got 3 people showing up to a coffee on a Sunday morning call, those 3 people became our friends, and then they invited 3 of their friends. And it's progressed as a ripple effect, and I encourage all youth to get out there, to take the first step. I know it can be intimidating, but you have nothing to lose and everything to gain, and I'm happy to say that after 2 years of talking to people online that I've now been able to meet in person over this Congress, I am so grateful for the lifelong friendships and bonds that I've made. So go out there, get it, do it.
Thank you, Roz. I agree with you. In our constant strive for perfection, we just don't begin. And I can speak for myself personally. I was always waiting, what is the right thing for me to do to show I want to be actively involved in the community? My father, Jimmy, was a former Bombay Parsi Panchayat member, and I've understood that there are different ways to be involved in the community. I always look to him for inspiration, but I never thought that I would be able to do what he's doing at his age. Where do I fit in? I was ambitious. I wanted to grow. My career meant everything to me then. And I did not think that just, going and participating in a volleyball game or going for a little dance networking thing was me actually doing something to grow as a leader. You do not know where to start, you don't know where to go. But one thing that I even said back in LA, you just need to take that step and start. The way Zamyad said it, or the way Sherry said it, one thing leads to the other. You don't know how that chain works. You put yourself out there. I started with a small HPY event. Jehan Kotwal from WZCC, I think he's somewhere here, was an amazing friend and support, and he said, Pearl, get involved. I'm like you, we want to do things that have got to do with entrepreneurship. We want to promote Parsi youth and entrepreneurial spirits. We want to get in networking, and this is where I said, yes, I fit in. From there, I got Beros, who became like a mentor to me with the women panel. So now I found 2 things that I resonated with. It was women and entrepreneurship with the youth. You need that support, you need that feeling. Benafsha, I get where you also came from, that it is a full-time thing, but if you have people around you who understand that it's okay if you slip up once in a while, it is fine. So you don't need to be perfect, you don't need to find that perfect space. You can falter. There are people who are going to be there for you as long as you know what your responsibilities are. And I think each one of us know how to go with it. One thing that I understood, and talking about women, talking about empowerment, I want to jump about to Tanya Hoshi, who recently won an award at the Congress. So congrats for that. Tanya, one thing that I love and why I really want to bring this up is Tanya created a niche for herself, even in community service. She put her passions for marketing, for social media, for content creation into something to actually go out and create a platform. So it's not just volunteering at a gum bar or standing and, manning a desk. You actually can put in things that you are personally passionate about into doing more and helping the communities. Tanya, what was that like? What was the support? And can we move on to Vista with that, from one woman leader empowering another?
I just want to quickly touch, because everyone doesn't need to be a youth leader. It's like there's so many different ways to get involved in your community if that's not something that's your comfort zone or interest. So I think Sherry touched upon it, like follow the social media, talk about the religion, tell other people about it, tell other youth about it that might not be involved as well. Let them know about events, let them know how amazing this Congress was, how much fun you had, how many friends you made. There's so many other ways to get involved. Show up for events, whatever way you possibly can. You don't have to take on a lot of responsibility if that's
We're
not your
almost
comfort
done
zone.
here. Could we just... Thank you. People are on stage speaking. Just a little respect, please.
Thank you. Yes, please. Thank you. So for me, what I wanted to do at first was just show up. I did not want a leadership role at all. For me, it was my cousin told me, hey, I went on the Return to Roots trip. It was in India. I was like, oh no, I don't want to do that. I don't remember my prayers and I'm going to be judged and I don't want to get involved in that. And she's like, no, trust me, Tanya, go on this trip. It's so much fun. There's other youth just like you who have been a bit, removed from the community for a while. You'll really enjoy it. So I think that push she did was her contribution because it brought me to this community again. Like, my cousin's not super involved in a leadership role, but I think that was so impactful for her to do that. And that could also be something you do. And then for me, once I was more involved, I think what I'm so lucky for is just having people around me encouraging me, and I think that's something I also recommend, just like encouraging, acknowledging like people's efforts, no matter how small or big, and that got me the confidence really, because I'm naturally a very shy person. It gave me the confidence to then eventually step up and be like, I can do this, I can take on a leadership role, and getting both the acknowledgement but then also the opportunity and having like roadblocks removed really helped me get to where I am now, which is like carving that niche. And I think feedback really is a big thing. So if you see people doing something you like, let them know. I think you just need that feedback once in a while because it lets that imposter syndrome go away. Because sometimes I'm like, I don't know if I'm doing the right things. I don't know if people like this. I don't know if this is helpful. So what I'm really grateful for is like youth across the globe who reach out, send messages, say like, oh, I like this, or this was awesome, or just seeing people share content, seeing youth from across the globe create their own content and be in leadership roles is so inspiring for me. Which brings me to Vista. I know right now you're one of the youth leaders who's leading the 8th Youth Zoroastrian Congress. So I'm
3, please.
I'm curious what kind of challenges you've had while you're making this, and what is something that perhaps I can do or other youth leaders can do across the globe to help you out as you plan this amazing event.
Okay, merci Tanya John. So I'm on the entertainment committee for the Youth Congress, and to be honest, I felt pretty empowered. I felt heard. I feel like they've given me a voice as an Iranian Zoroastrian, because previously we felt pretty alienated, as in, like, for example, events like it would be like the Parsi Nowruz, or we would have our Iranian event. So we never really mixed. And then it's just putting yourself maybe in an unfamiliar situation, so putting yourself out your comfort zone. So I was like, okay, let me just go to one of these events. Like, what's the worst that can happen, to be honest? And you make new friends, you meet new people, and then and I like motivated others to come, like, Vista's coming, and then the auntie would tell another auntie, oh, Vista's going, bring your children, and everyone comes and it brings the community together. So
it's more, and also being on the Congress and on this committee, I've kind of learned that being a leader isn't, you're not by yourself, you're in a whole team. So like, no one's better than like the other person. I'm not better than anyone else if I'm a leader or in a position of leadership. So it's admitting if you have like any questions, if you need any help, and you can ask stupid questions. I ask stupid questions all the time. So like, it's being yourself, getting involved, and just going for it, because what's the worst that can happen? You only live once.
Yay. Can we turn mic 7 on? Leaders that are in the audience, if we could slowly make our way to the stage, and we're just going to close with Darayus answering what he thinks is the biggest generational divide we have. Not a heavy question at all. But the leaders who are in the audience, can you start slowly joining me on the stage?
I think...
Mic
Hello?
7, please.
Hello? Can you hear me? Yeah? I think one of the big issues we face is trust. Trust that the youth are capable and smart enough to organize events, to manage our budgets, to understand what the community wants and the direction the community wants to go in. I think a lack of trust initially is normal, but when you start from a youth leadership position, it takes so much longer to build trust and relationships with elders in managing committee positions.
Thank you so much, Darayus. All these wonderful leaders that are coming to the stage have come on Zoom calls, had wonderful conversations, we've networked, we've built support for one another, and we want to extend that to all of you that are in the audience. No, besides a round of applause, it's actually about just letting you know if you are in the audience and you need support to be a leader, find any of these faces, definitely find Arzan. But you have support, and you have literally a family of leaders here, and we are all here for you. So step into your roles, step into your power. Don't be afraid to get involved. If you need anything at all, there's social media, there's all of us, and we got you. Thank you all so much for attending.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sanaya Master, she joined the room. Please, Sanaya, get up here. Oh, God. Thank goodness. Sanaya Master joined the room. Yay. Okay, lovely. Thank you all so much for joining the session.